Good afternoon, everyone. We'd like to welcome you here to a virtual lunch with the League. This is sponsored by the League of Women Voters of Montgomery County. Lunch with the League is a forum designed to bring subjects of important public interest and importance to our citizens. Today we have with us three Wabash seniors who almost 4 years ago came here from afar. They will address the subject today that we have called Crawfordsville, my second home. I'm Helen Hudson, president of the League of Women Voters, and this is Marco Dees, coordinator and producer of our Lunch with the League series. Before turning the program over to them, I'd like to introduce our distinguished guests. The moderator of our panel is Clyde Morgan, cross-country and track and field coach at Wabash College. Mr. Morgan has a career-long commitment to helping young people shape their talents. When he was the age of our Wabash 2020 seniors, Clyde was graduating from Thiel College in Pennsylvania with majors in elementary education and graphic arts. He was also an athlete, and he quickly found his life's passion as a coach of track and field. Wabash College has been lucky enough to have him on their coaching staff now for over 10 years. During that time, Clyde's athletes have won more awards and conference championships than most coaches ever see in a lifetime or two. Coach Morgan's role at Wabash doesn't stop at the track, though. He is also Associate Director of the Malcolm X Institute at Wabash College. Clyde, thank you for being our moderator today.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, we're so delighted. Now I'd like to introduce our distinguished panel of Wabash seniors. I'll do this in alphabetical order by last name and ask each of you to say your name, where you're from, what your major is or majors, and mention one other thing that has been a highlight during your time at the college in a sentence or so. And Lamar, that means we begin with you.
I am Lamar Baudouin. I am from Edgar, Louisiana. My major is financial mathematics. And while at Wabash, I had the lovely opportunity to play sports, do theater, and travel the world with my immersion trips.
Excellent. And Marlon?
Marlon Lewis, senior from Chicago. I'm an art major. Wabash has also provided me with the opportunity to explore the world. I've also had amazing opportunities on campus to be a part of some amazing organizations and programs, including the Malcolm X Institute, Democracy Fellows. It's just been real good.
Beautiful, thank you. And finally, last but not least, Anthony.
My name is James Anthony Williams Jr. I'm a theater major, and I'm from the west side of South Bend. Some of my favorite accomplishments, I'll have to say, I visited 9 countries with Wabash, with the opportunities that Wabash was giving me, and I've also been the chairman of diversity and inclusion while reigning alongside my fellow chairman of MXI Marlon. So it was definitely been a great ride.
Okay. Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you all so much. I will have to add a little personal note. I'm especially proud of all these gentlemen because I first met them in the summer of 2016 on their very first moment on campus. And we worked together just about daily, literally, for hours and hours in the special program for the month of July in 2016. And so this is a special treat for me personally to see your brilliant accomplishments. Thank you all so much. I'd now like to turn this over to Coach Morgan, who will lead our conversation. Thanks a lot, Coach.
All right, thank you. First off, welcome. I want to stress something to you gentlemen. You guys are lucky as I listen for your travels. I love my alma mater to death. They used to call me Mr. Teal back in the day. I love the place. It saved my life. But as a college student, I never left the country till my senior year. I went to Niagara Falls. And I didn't consider that really leaving the country, but all the traveling you guys that you've done, that is truly a blessing, and you're lucky. Continue to do that, as much as you can once you leave Wabash. I would like to make this as comfortable as possible. It's a conversation. I would like it to be a feel of, a barbershop. Just relaxed conversation, just being honest and laugh a little bit and just let it flow. And the first question I'll ask you guys, I want it from a different perspective, whereas you hear all the time, why Wabash? And then you get the answer, this person motivated me or told me about the school or those things. But when I ask you what's Wabash, I want to know, because this place in a recruiting process, it takes some time and there's some stages of it. So I want to know what really made you first say, all right, let me really look at this place seriously. From that point, not stepping on campus and saying, when you got to campus, but just when you really took it seriously and start looking at us, what in that perspective, why Wabash? We'll start with Marlon on that question.
Why Wabash? So for me, honestly, Wabash wanted me to matriculate into a college as bad as I wanted to myself. One of the few schools, if not only schools, that tried to provide every possible opportunity in order for me to make sure I was capable of getting all my tuition in for freshman year. The school, man, it's honestly why Wabash, because of Kim King and Coach Denham, who both are no longer here, but they really gave me the push and showed me just exactly what Wabash was about. Also heard real good things from some now alums who also went to high school with, Lavelle Hughes and Jaleel Granberry. So once I had my visit and came down, man, it was literally just what I was looking for. I always wanted to find somewhere smaller and quiet, and Wabash was just capable of providing that to me, and they gave me the opportunity to be a part of the WLIP program over the summer, which was, it was life changing just from the jump, getting into Wabash and seeing exactly what they said they was and what they could offer. So that's honestly why Wabash.
Thank you, James.
Yeah, I was raised by a strict mom, and so she was kind of like over me in this process, but the one thing she always told me from the jump was that money talks. And I mean, I hate to say that in that way, but the way as in, I felt like if this college was going to give me this much money and believed in me and invested this much money into me for scholarships, and because of my accomplishments in high school, I felt like I trusted them with my future, kind of. And I felt like when I got to this campus, it was the reassurance of visiting the MXI and things like that, and really seeing the opportunities that other students had that I was a little jealous of. And I wanted to go to Prague. I mean, I went to Prague now, but it's things that I seen that I aspired and I wanted to do. And I felt like Wabash had all of those things. I came in, wanted to do bio pre-med. I left as a theater major. So, I mean, I definitely had a little rocky road, but I mean, I found my way along the way, and there was always, an opportunity and a care system to always catch me and to get me back on the road to success. So it was just a constant guiding to success that I just aspired to be to.
All right. Thank you. More.
I always think about it as I didn't choose Wabash. Wabash chose me because I had no idea about Wabash. Like, I was clueless. It was a couple of my coaches who kind of introduced me to everything. And I always dreamed of leaving my state and going to a college out of state and being on my own. And this was a perfect opportunity. And I think Wabash it was a perfect opportunity for me to kind of build upon resources and kind of restart in a certain place and kind of learn it on my own. And Wabash was kind of the right fit for me. Small community, just like I grew up with, small town, small people, everyone's kind of close knit. It was just a right and perfect fit for me. I think it was a good challenge for me. Challenge me, whatever level it may be.
Thank you. Now, this will flow right into our other question here, and I'm going to go backwards in our order. Um, for a certain reason, something prompted me to this. Lamar, when you were going through this process and you lived so far away, obviously you were looking for somewhere, another home. You know, that's a long way away, man. Coming from down there, coming up to Indiana. What does home mean to you?
I think it's just a safe space. As for me, home is never a big like a big city area. It's always a close, rural knit community. Everyone knows each other, and when everyone knows each other, everyone's going to be rooting for you. Everyone's going to be asking about you, concerned, and everyone's going to have your back. And like it's not always going to be those big old schools where you're just another number. Everyone's always going to be in your corner. You're always going to have that help. So home is always having that support, always having that help, even though like you may not always want it and need it, but always knowing it's there and always knowing you can be yourself and be true and just be authentic.
Thank you. James, what about you? What does home mean to you?
I'm gonna actually agree a lot with what Mar had to say, but I'm just gonna add is to me, home has never been a place. It's always been. I mean, I grew up in South Bend, but we moved to Tampa and did a little bit of moving around. So, I mean, when I think of my childhood, it's never at one place. So, with that being said, I've always looked at home as being a connection and a relationship, and I guess, like Mar said, a community of people where I basically draw my support from. So, I mean, home could move. It could be different places, but it's really the people and the community and the relationships that you have with a body of people that supports you, and a place where you feel comfortable that you can talk about, everything that's going on in your life, from the toughest things to just saying, you're glad, or your accomplishments, and somebody to be proud of you. So home to me is definitely a community.
Oh, great answers, guys. Marlon, home. What does that mean to you?
Truthfully, home to me is wherever I am. It's everywhere I am. I just try to be as comfortable as I can be with who's ever around. I try to uh, I don't know, like everybody, how Lamar and Anthony have just been saying, it's about the family that you kind of build and make. So I really just consider everybody who I'm around my family. I build off of them. I draw from them. Uh, and so home to me is just, as they've said, where you around, who you around. Um, but it's anywhere, everywhere. I got my family, my home back home, uh, and that's my home. I got my room at Wabash, that's my home. I got DMXI, that's my home. Then the Fine Arts Center, that's my home. So it's really just the space that I'm in, and how far out at the moment that I'm trying to make that. Like how far out right now is in my home, but it's really everywhere I go, and everybody that's in that area.
Great answer. You reminded me of something. I spent a lot of time in college in our fine arts department. Um, that definitely was home for me. Now, as you guys were, going through this college searching process, how important was the town or the city for you? Start with Low.
Like I mentioned earlier, I was looking for somewhere small, quiet. Growing up in Chicago in the city, uh, I always wanted to try to get away from it, try and find somewhere a little bit more peaceful. And so Wabash just and Crawfordsville just they gave me that, being a smaller town, uh, very less populated, and the campus being a smaller size. That's that's probably where it's at. Like that's what made me choose it. I was just trying to get somewhere uh, that was just smaller. Like it's just a perfect fit for where it's at right now.
James.
I would say that the I would say that the city and town wasn't too important to me, but to my family was a lot more important. Like my mom was sitting off a black son in America off to a city and a place where she wasn't at, and I wasn't under her protection. So, I mean, she immediately wanted me to go to coastal colleges, big colleges, HBCUs. But I mean, Wabash is far from any of those things. So when I told her, especially some, Southern Indiana, she was just like, I don't know about them. Like, well, it's not really about that, but it's really about the opportunities. And when I told her about the opportunities and when I was being off there, kind of persuaded her, but really my mom was just she was probably protective of me and just trying to watch over me, and the fact that trying to just guide my decisions so I could be safe and things like that. So more of my mom and my family more worried about me more so than me.
Lamar.
I don't think like looking into the community is a big thing for me, because any change for me would have been a huge change. Like my community consisted of maybe 800 people, one stoplight. I had 200 total students in my school, 98% black school. So like any change from another college or university would have been a big change for me. So I think just making that leap of faith was just another step that I had to take. But it was a good fit for me, because this is what I've always known: a small community, a small crowd. So I think just a slightly bigger was just a little more comfortable for me.
Wow. No, wait. No, let's back up there. How big is your town?
It's maybe 800 to 1,000 people. My school had 200 students total, and still does.
Wow.
We had a 98% black African American population in my school.
What's the town called?
It's called Edgar, Louisiana. It's right on the Mississippi River, so we're right along the levees.
Wow, I just learned something. Now we're getting a little bit deeper here now, fellas. You could take some time to think about this one, but tell us about some of your challenges in the community, if you had any personal challenges. And when I say in the community, the Crawfordsville community, not the Wabash community. Lamar.
I don't think it was so much of a challenge, but it was so much of like kind of motivating myself to leave the campus and be involved and go out and kind of see the community and kind of explore, instead of being so focused on college life and centered around Wabash. So I think that was kind of a challenge for me, and I had to kind of grow as I got older in my years at Wabash. And it's still kind of hard to do and be involved in kind of being an individual and want to do it yourself, and then having friends and doing it together. So I think that was a challenge that I had to kind of grow to fit in with.
Thank you. James.
I never had like a issue or like a big issue in the Crawfordsville community, but I definitely was cautious and cognizant, really. But I would say I would definitely limit my trips to Walmart and things like that, just because so I wouldn't have any problems, and that's the biggest thing. But I still definitely went out into the restaurants, and I actually had a great thing. Probably one of my favorite restaurants was probably Maxine's on Green, and their owner, and she always reached out to especially our fraternity, and she would come out of her way and to serve us food and offer her space if we needed a place to study. So I definitely had great. But there's some other ones too. But you get that anywhere you go. So definitely was a mixed feeling.
Marlon.
There haven't been many or much. They've at least died down for sure over the course of my 4 years here. Um, it's always been difficult, especially my freshman and sophomore year it was difficult just being comfortable getting up at like 6:30 in the morning to try and catch that 7 a.m. Amtrak some days, because you would go outside and it's nothing but pickup trucks that'll drive up and down the street, and it's often that when they see one of us, you'll get yelled at or they'll say something to you derogatory. And so you know, and you expecting that, but it was always, especially my freshman year, like, man, if one of these trucks gonna pull over, they gonna stop, like it's gonna, like, what's finna go down. So that was always on my mind. And being in the community, being downtown especially, I did like go downtown a lot sophomore, junior year. And it was always well. I was always welcomed. I felt like, in a sense, especially around most of the stores and everything. People always spoke when I walked up and down the street. I know it was a one incident when we was in WIP where somebody had locked one of the groups out of the barber shop, but I never experienced anything like that afterwards. And then just late nights going to Walmart, that's probably the second biggest thing. You would see like, man, 8 to 15 trucks probably parked in the corner right behind that gas station. And they all got the little Confederate flags going up. So you never even want to go there too late at night by yourself. You always trying to find somebody to go with. But that's really it for me, man. Honestly, it hasn't been as crazy as what it would seem to have been projected when we were freshmen, for sure.
When you guys would go out, would you have your Wabash gear on?
Most definitely. Look,
Yeah.
most definitely.
I would have probably the lanyard.
Like, man, let
A
somebody.
headband, a jacket, a sweater, a scarf.
Now, tell us why.
It was so that, well, in Crawfordsville, I would say the Black community there isn't as populous. Although over these years, I have seen more and more Black faces. I mean, like, we'll drive or I'll go somewhere in the town and I'll be like, I ain't never seen that person out here before. Like, where you just come from? Or I know you ain't been living out here for a while. And so you would get looked at instead. I mean, even like when my family comes down or we go to like Walmart, they'll be like, that's a whole Black family. Like, I ain't seen them around. They're just, you either look like it, you either get looked at like, oh, are they new in town or what are they doing out here? And so having the gear on just kind of gives that certification,
Yeah,
like, I'm supposed to be here. I go to Wabash, you know what I'm
that's
saying?
why I'm here. Yeah.
Wabash is here. And so like it's not odd or strange to see my face around.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with Lo on that. I definitely went out of my way to definitely wear gear, so it was just like a sense of belonging of kind of who I am to the city and where I guess where I belong in the city. But I mean, usually the townspeople usually know, even probably if I didn't have things, or usually that I'm a Wabash student just because of my age and probably if I'm grabbing laundry detergent and things like that. But it definitely was just something. It's just me being I don't think it's just me being a college student across the station. It's me being a Black man in America. That's something like you just go out of your way and do just so you don't have any problems. So I mean, it's not really a Wabash thing. I think that's just a me thing. So that was just me in general. I think that's anywhere I go.
That's something though, that you have to do that. You shouldn't have to.
Yeah.
You shouldn't have to wear anything to say you're affiliated with a college. I went to college in the late '90s, and I actually did an experiment. It was probably my first semester of my senior year. I went out and I wore all my Till college gear, some of my track gear, my football stuff, and then I went out and I just wore my regular clothes, as a 20-year-old kid. All right, and then the next time I went out, I put on some of my student teacher gear, the shirt, the tie, the suit, those things, and I did it as an experiment, not for a class, just because I wanted to know. And it ended up turning to one of my programs. I was an RA, and we had to do present programs, and it was extremely interesting the way I was treated. When I had on my Till college gear or that shirt and that tie, it was completely different to when I dressed down. And when I dressed down, I wasn't walking around my pants sagging or anything like that. Just had on some jeans and a shirt, and it was interesting, and it created a lot of dialogue on campus in the community once I presented my little experiment there. But that leads into a question. What you guys were talking about, and just shared your experience of being out and about and kind of avoiding times when you should go out in the community into Walmart and those things. But did you feel safe or unsafe? Like, what do you think about that? Just when I say feeling safe in a community, Lamar?
I don't think I ever feared or felt unsafe. It was just a sense of kind of feeling secure and knowing that you belong.
Mm-hmm.
So like I never felt an instance where, anything violent or something would happen to me. Like even though it always can happen and always a possibility. Like I always felt like Crawfordsville, it kind of was its own safe area in itself since everyone knew everybody and it's so small. So it's not a lot of things that can go on and a lot of things that get passed. It's like if you are a young teenager, you probably attend one of the colleges here. You probably like kind of have some involvement here. It's like we've seen your face before. We know that somehow you're involved. So it was never a feeling of unsafe for me. It
Mm-hmm.
was just kind of feeling that I needed to feel that I always know I belong here, and I knew I was wanted here, and that I'm like, this is my home too. That feeling.
What about you, James?
Um, it wasn't like something that was on my mind constantly, but it was something in the back of my head that was like, just be careful. I wouldn't say I feared going out. I mean, if I needed something, I would definitely go out. But if I didn't have to, I wouldn't go out for fun or nothing like that. It was just more of a just something in the back of your head to just, but that's really anywhere. I mean, I've studied abroad and I've been like that. Like, this is not a place where I'm comfortable. It's not, South Bend. It's not Tampa. It's not a place where I know everybody and everybody doesn't know me. So anywhere you go, you really got to just look around and just watch your surroundings. So I mean, it was just some more of just a precaution, but I never like feared going out. No, I wouldn't say that.
Thank you. Marla.
Yeah, they wrapped it up a lot. I mean, it's pretty solid right there what they just said, but it really is just about, having that awareness, just being more aware of the surroundings. Like Anthony was saying, like all three of us, we've traveled. We've been out of the country, out of the state for sure. And so I feel like that just awareness, that level of acute awareness, we just grow and develop that, and you just are able to become a lot more comfortable in your immediate surrounding just because you know how aware you are of what's going on and what's around you. So it never brings too much worry. It's just really we all just got to keep our head on a swivel. That's probably just the main thing we always do.
I kind of want to add something else too, and it's also kind of like what I don't want to say the era, but what kind of everything that's been going on throughout our college and leading up into our college years. So you hear the news, you hear these instances. It's also like I guess we kind of have that in the back of our mind, like it could happen to anybody, it could happen anywhere, and you never know how and when or whatever the circumstance can be. So I think that's another thing that was kind of in the back of my mind.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
I might throw a word in here, being decades older than anybody else on the screen and the only woman. When I was young, when I was your age, I mean, that's when awareness first came to the culture that women, what you've all described right there is the way women move through the world. And I've only been in one country ever where I felt safe that I could walk around anytime, anywhere. It happened to be Iceland, of all places. It's a safe place. And it felt so different, but you don't even realize you're doing that. And I'd just like to say, I cannot even imagine being a woman of color added in to what you all face. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
What about positivity? Any positive stories just out and about, or anyone you may have met in the community?
I think just recently it was at the drag show. We went as the kind of an MXI group, and it was this couple next to us, and they kind of just started a conversation with me. I was from another state. I told them I came here, and it was kind of like concerned, and we had a conversation. And then they reached out to Kenny beforehand. It was like her husband had been needing a barber place and a haircut because he was black and she was white, and they've been needing a haircut and a place to cut his hair. And he was like, reached out to Kenny, and it was like they were going to talk and be involved. And it's kind of those just small interactions that you have with the community when kind of you get to know someone and they kind of want to be involved, and you kind of just start to build a relationship from there. And that was just recently that we had that.
Oh, that's great.
Cool.
Yeah, I definitely had a lot of positive and I went to the Lou Wallace Center for the festivals. I was a lieutenant governor for Circle K, so I was a lot at the Kiwanis and the 4-H grounds. Um, I've been to the Hue events in downtown at the new Pike Place. That's what it is. But I mean, I've been to events and I've always had positive things. I mean, it was hot, but I mean, it's not really. I feared who I did meet. It's more who I feared who I didn't meet. But that was probably the best. That was probably the best way I could explain it.
Great attitude. Great attitude. Marlon.
I worked with Scroll. When was this? The summer after sophomore year. So I was working for marketing and communications, comms mark. And I worked with Adam Phipps for a while for the summer. And John Bear had asked us to work on a piece for the Scroll. It's the high school. They kind of bring in high school seniors, try to get them to be introduced into Wabash. It's Wabash related because it's on campus, but it's independent of Wabash. But we got to I got to go with them, and we helped women who were in like a shelter, women who escape abusive relationships and such like that. And so they would go to this place right outside of town where they could get benefits and everything. And we went there and they gardened, they remulched, their lawn and everything. And meeting them there, that was a great experience. They had reached out, we worked and got some pictures and videos with them as well. We also went to a halfway home in town as well, where we worked with a lot of recovering addicts who we got to listen and hear them speak. And so just their story about being in town and what they do. I feel like the best place, the most positive has been Allen's Country Kitchen. I used to go there a lot. Like I walk over to Allen, yeah, look, thumbs up.
Yeah.
Yeah, Allen's Country be hidden, man. They always welcome you well. They always take care of you when you go in there. They always very kind and friendly, and the food always great.
Now, you guys, Wabash is a place where it probably takes 2 years for you to kind of buy in and say, okay, I'm gonna lock it down and stay here. Because transferring creeps in there every other Thursday. Probably more, especially early. But what made you guys stay? When you think about, when it's just not the college, this community in this area, what made you stay?
I think when I first got to Wabash, let me start by saying, like, I had visited the office so much, and it wasn't because I went there purposely to say hello. It's because they emailed me saying be there at 8 a.m. So I didn't start on like this great path, but I definitely had challenges. But I think once I tasted success and how I could take advantage of the opportunities that were given to me, once I learned how to get on this system, then I just really took advantage, and then I just really soared. But I feel like it definitely was a transition period where I did not get what was going on, and that I was just like, maybe this isn't for me, or maybe I shouldn't be here. It was definitely a transition. It was maybe a year and a half transition point of like, what are you doing? And even trying to pick a major, and then I'm just transitioning life, and I'm paying my bills. It's just a lot going on. It's just like, you got to still think about your life and then your school and what you're doing. So I definitely had a lot of doubt, but I'm glad I stuck it out and through. But definitely when I tasted success and how I could navigate, then that's when I took off.
I think for me, the reason I stayed is just because of the community and family I've built here. It's kind of like they've always pushed me, and knowing that it would always be challenging, but I always had support. It was kind of like always in the back of my mind is the reason I stayed. And I always told myself, like, I never wanted to kind of like be that person to like jump ship or jump schools. Kind of like even when I selected my school, I never wanted to like say, oh, I'm kind of like not going here anymore and changing my mind and bossing around from one to another. I kind of wanted to put my 4 years in here and give them my all, and then I'll know if it's for me or not. And it was for me. Like Wabash is for me and is a part of me.
Marlon.
Yeah, like Mar just said, not big on switching schools. Once I'm in a school, I'm there until I get out. Um, and it always felt like Wabash would no other place provide the opportunities that Wabash would. It always felt like that. It always seemed that uh, if I left, it would just be workload or coursework. It always felt like I could go somewhere easier, but the opportunity and what could be provided for me would never be the same. It felt like the family that I built, the relationships that are capable of being built on campus, uh, just didn't seem like you'd get it from anywhere else other than Wabash. And so it was a big component in me staying. And honestly, having EMXI, especially freshman year going into sophomore year, that really solidified my feelings of Wabash and wanting to remain on the campus and remain a Wabash man.
Now, have you guys made any community connections? Once again, not on campus, but just connections in a community. And if you have, who and how did that connection happen?
Well, we made, I would say my fraternity, we kind of made a good relationship with Maxine on Greens. Anytime we had an event we could put money into our community, we would often choose Maxine's on Green. Um, it was always trying to help you and always trying to just work with us. And she would text us late at night because she knew, like, I knew personally I had work until 10 o'clock. So, I mean, she would fit our schedules and going out of her way. And I mean, she understood we were students and some of us had jobs and, school as well. So it was just, I feel like she just worked with us. And you never had any complaints. I mean, one time she left sandwiches for us. We had our pants for like 2 weeks. She came 2 weeks later, was like, oh, it's no problem. It's no big deal. I would have complained personally, but she did it. I mean, it was just always an awesome connection, and always a welcoming and loving connection. And we always wanted to put our money into her business, and we're going to keep to.
Thank you. What about you, Lamar?
Um, I kind of want to say, so the Newman Center, when I don't want to say I was involved, but I went a couple of dinners and had shared conversation with the priest there, and that connection that I've kind of made there was a little well for me, because I don't want to say I'm super religious, but I'm a religious person where I go to church every Sunday. But coming to Wabash, I wasn't doing it as much because I didn't think that was an opportunity. And it took me 2 years to find out that was an extra opportunity. And I got a little more of a relationship and conversation amongst there, and kind of putting myself into the position I was beforehand. So I think that was kind of a good relationship that I've built.
That's cool.
Awesome. Marla.
The AME church in town, as well as Athens Art. I feel like for me in town, those are two big places for me. The AME with EMXI and just trying to have an outreach and a stable connection with them in the community. And Athens Art, I went to a gallery show that they had last year, my junior year, which I met a lot of people, made a lot of great connections, and brought it up to the fine arts department, and we've been trying to work on stuff there too. But just to be out there, and those are the two probably big connections in town for sure.
I'm gonna throw in one more. I just gotta shout out the Crawfordsville Kiwanis because their pancake day, even though like they would always invite us to their events, 100% we love the Crawfordsville Kiwanis.
And I have, wrapping up here, I have two more questions, and I'm going to move on. Someone brought up the word, we're talking about community and connections and relationships, In your 4 years now, if you could look back, what could you guys have done better to build more relationships in the community?
I think starting early is one thing.
Mhm.
kind of, for me, always was kind of pretty shy. I guess when people meet me are pretty to myself. So I guess starting early and putting myself out there more in the beginning is something I could have done. Because now that I'm a senior, I think I've kind of broken that my shell, and I'm kind of more of my person and develop more into myself. So I guess just starting early and kind of going out of the community and being involved and helping the small businesses and feeding money there, and kind of just spending time in different places in different areas will kind of serve well.
I would say just because I was recently freshman orientation manager and we always send out groups of students throughout the entire community for a day of community service, I would say that's probably one of the biggest moments where we have a big class of welcoming students in. So I feel like, and those impressions that we first get when we first come to campus, of the community, I feel like we should just bring the most welcomest people we have, and just make a really great impression, because that's the first time you're, as a freshman, you're going out, it's freshman orientation, and you go straight into the community, and it's just like, yeah, you're doing community service, but what are your interactions with these people? Are you just here to work, just so it looks nice on a resume, or do these people really grateful that you work? Not that everybody has to be grateful, but I mean, if you have a better interaction, they might come back and help you again. But I just think that's a big point, a monumental point that we could really kind of merge the Crawfordsville and the Wabash campus together.
Mhm.
Marlon.
What I could done better for sure is probably maintenance. Maintaining. Uh, that would probably be it. You know, I feel like we build relationships and connections within the community, but just always getting back out to the community. Uh, I would change, trying to being able to get out and sustain those connections a lot more. At least visit those connections more frequently. It would be frequency. I would try to be more frequent for sure with uh, getting having with the relationships that I build.
Mhm. Awesome. Now, what do you guys think Crawfordsville could do to make minorities feel more welcome here?
I mean, we could just start with the Confederate flags, but
Oh
I
yeah,
mean,
speak up.
and,
Speak
and
up.
the only reason I say that is because immediately you automatically put a guard up and a wall up of, okay, they're making a statement to a certain type of people, and that people is me. So at that point, you start avoiding streets, and you just start building up a wall of uncomfortability, and you start putting things in your head of, maybe I should look more, you start being more aware. So I feel like when you have those propaganda of racist ideologies and things like that, it just puts that pressure of, let's build a wall up, so maybe I should just not come later at night. It just builds those walls up of protection. And I know it's not the first time I've had it, but it's the first. I mean, even anywhere you go. But I've been trained just as by my mom to just, when you see signs like that, you be smart about it and avoid those things. So that's probably one.
Hmm.
I think another thing could be uh, maybe to get a little more involved with kind of these diversity groups like the MXI and ASA, I believe, to kind of being more involved in the events and kind of these um, panel discussions that we have. And sometimes it is a great support. Sometimes we kind of lack in that area. It's partially us, and it could be partially because we need to reach out to the community more. And I guess we have to find that balance of kind of working with each other and working amongst each other to help bridge the gap there.
All right.
Yeah. Excellent.
Yeah. Marlon.
Feeling more welcome in the community is a tough question. Outside of what Anthony mentioned earlier, with the flags, like that's for sure would be a first step. But I don't know, you want to have, like Black History Month celebrations in town, or just do more for like Martin Luther King Day, or these holidays that we celebrate as Black people. Um, just I'm not sure outside of that what more you could do to feel welcome as the community. The community as individuals, just have to be more accepting. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's I don't know, because we could have events, but individual in the community could still not accept it, or you'd have a low showing of people come to it, and that'll show you the same thing, that even though don't nobody mind you having it, ain't nobody in support because ain't nobody around. I think what we went to, we had an MLK. We went to the MLK dinner, a little celebration at the elementary school earlier this semester. Then I mean that looked like a nice showing of people, and just events like that, where possibly across the high schools, or maybe one at a high school as well, could kind of show that and start to build that. But those would be the starts, at least what I see.
Thank you. Well, I got to tell you guys, I'm very impressed seeing your growth of all you guys over the years. If we would have did this sophomore year, it'd been completely different. So just seeing your growth, and that's what college is about. It's not just everything in the classroom. I think you learn more outside the classroom, than you do inside. That's just my personal opinion. You really learn a lot when you go to college, on campus and out of the classroom and in the community. And then you continue to do that when you leave. You're going to have challenges wherever you go. And I'm just impressed to see your growth of all you guys, what you've done, being to college, and then just taking time, out of your day to do this, because it's important. This is something that different people get to hear and listen to, and it'll hit them in different ways, I hope. But I just wanted to tell you guys, thank you for doing this, and thank you, Helen, for putting this together, and you also, Marco. And I think this is great. This is a great start.
Absolutely. I just want to thank you from my heart personally. I know that these conversations aren't always easy and maybe push us out of our comfort zones, but certainly for someone like me, white, male, Midwest, born and raised here, this is very important. I'm aware, I know a lot of people in Crawfordsville, Montgomery County are aware that we have a lot of opportunities for growth, but it's good to articulate these things, and it's good to have reminders, and you guys, it's been very helpful. So very, very much appreciated. Thank you so much.
Thank you as well. We
Thank
appreciate
you.
it.
Thank you.
Thank you all so very much for doing this. I might just mention the HUE organization, which got mentioned, I think, once, but that's what Lo was describing at the elementary school a couple of years. This was, I believe, the third dinner of that sort, and by far the best turnout. I mean, thanks Shelby Hoover, another League of Women Voters member, and somebody who's working closely with the MXI and Dean Jones and Clyde to, keep this moving forward. That's all I guess we can do. Like Lo said, it's all about individuals. If the mayor put out a proclamation that said no more Confederate flags, that wouldn't work. But the more people come into contact through these hope for things. I love what you said there too, Mar, about, gosh, if there's some way we could start earlier. And I think about that dinner we do in Lake, right, at the church fellowship hall, Whitlock, where we would have done this in person, by the way, this very event. That's such a promising start, but then everybody's zipped into their lives. And one thing we discount when we do a discussion like this is you guys have been incredibly, incredibly busy. That's why you're so accomplished. That's why you have moved forward so beautifully. But as Coach Morgan says, look at the tools you have, even in this crazy time. And it was a delight to have a conversation where we set that all aside for a moment, as none of us knows, but you guys have resiliency of a very powerful sort. And yeah, makes me proud too, of course, as I said earlier on, to have seen you as very brand new college writers and thinkers, and seen this beautiful progress you've made. Thank you all so much. And you found ways to enjoy your weekend in pandemic times. So again, we appreciate your time, appreciate your willingness right from the get-go. And thank you so much. And I will say farewell to this virtual Lunch with the League, sponsored by the League of Women Voters of Montgomery County.